Okay, okay, we're back in the glass bead game again, and the next book I want to read 2 pages out of is Herman Hesse's Steppenwolf, and I'll just get right to it. That man is not yet a finished creation, but rather a challenge of the spirit, a distant possibility dreaded as much as it is desired, that the way towards it has only been covered for a very short distance, and with terrible agonies and ecstasies, even by those few for whom it is the scaffold today and the monument tomorrow. All this the Steppenwolf too suspected. What, however, he calls the man in himself, as opposed to the wolf, is to a great extent nothing else than this very same average man of the bourgeois convention. As for the way to true manhood, the way to the immortals he has, it is true, an inkling of it, and starts upon it now, and then for a few hesitating steps, and pays for them with much suffering, and many pangs of loneliness. But as for striving with assurance in response to that supreme demand towards the genuine manhood of the spirit, and going to the one narrow way to immortality, he is deeply afraid of it. He knows too well that it leads to still greater suffering, to proscription, to the last renunciation, perhaps to the scaffold, and even though the enticement of immortality lies at the journey's end, he is still unwilling to suffer all these sufferings and to die all these deaths. Though the goal of manhood is better known to him than to the bourgeois, still he shuts his eyes. He is resolved to forget that the desperate clinging to the self and the desperate clinging to life are the surest way to eternal death, while the power to die, to strip one's self naked, and the eternal surrender of the self bring immortality with them. When he worships his favorite among the immortals, Mozart, perchance, he always looks at him in the long run through bourgeois eyes. His tendency is to explain Mozart's perfected being, just as a schoolmaster would, as a supreme and special gift, rather than as the outcome of his immense powers of surrender and suffering, of his indifference to the ideals of the bourgeois, and of his patience under the last extremity of loneliness, which rarefies the atmosphere of the bourgeois world to an ice-cold ether around those who suffer to become men, that loneliness of the Garden of Gethsemane. This Steppenwolf of ours has always been aware of at least the Faustian twofold nature within him. He has discovered that the one fold of the body is not inhabited by a one fold of the soul, and at best he is only at the beginning of a long pilgrimage towards his ideal harmony. He would like either to overcome the wolf and become holy man, or to renounce mankind and at last to live wholly a wolf's life. It may be presumed that he has never carefully watched a real wolf. Had he done so, he would have seen, perhaps, that even animals are not undivided in spirit. With them, too, the well-knit beauty of the body hides a being of manifold states and strivings. The wolf, too, has his abysses. The wolf, too, suffers. No back to nature is a false track that leads nowhere but to suffering and despair. Harry can never turn back again and become wholly wolf, and could he do so, he would find that even the wolf is not of primeval simplicity, but already a creature of manifold complexity. Even the wolf has two, or more than two, souls in his wolf's breast, and he who desires to be a wolf falls into the same forgetfulness as the man who sings. If I could be a child once more, he who sentimentally sings of blessed childhood is thinking of the return to nature and innocence and the origin of things, and has quite forgotten that these blessed children are beset with conflict and complexities and capable of all suffering. There is, in fact, no way back either to the wolf or to the child. From the very start, there is no innocence and no singleness. Every created thing, even the simplest, is already guilty, already multiple. It has been thrown into the muddy stream of being, and may never more swim back again to its source. The way to innocence, to the uncreated, and to God leads on, not back to the wolf or back to the child, but ever further into sin, ever deeper into human life. Nor will suicide really solve your problem, unhappy Steppenwolf. You will instead embark on the longer and wearier and harder road to life. You will have to multiply many times your twofold being and complicate your complexities still further. Instead of narrowing your world and simplifying your soul, you will have to absorb more and more of the world and at last take it all up in your painfully expanded soul, if you are ever to find peace. This is the road to Buddha, and every great man has gone, whether consciously or not, insofar as fortune favored his quest. All births mean separation from the all, the confinement within limitation, the separation from God, the pangs of being born ever anew, the return into the all, the dissolution of painful individuation. The reunion with God means the expansion of the soul until it is able once more to embrace the all.